Did you hate him for that?
No. He even says it's a very unfortunate thing. I'm the first of 10 children from 8 wives.
Behind the glittering curtain of Hollywood's golden age, shadows stretched deep enough to last for generations. For every magnificent red carpet smile, there was a child trembling behind a locked door. For every mesmerizing Oscar speech, there echoed a broken whisper in the darkness of night. Why wasn't I enough?
Why did you tell her I got expelled?
Because you did get expelled!
That is a lie.
1. Joan Crawford, the hellfire of perfection. In the 1940s, Joan Crawford was the queen of Hollywood perfection. Flawless, elegant, and a star shining with relentless determination. But when the doors of her Beverly Hills mansion closed, her daughter Christina lived in a completely different reality. There were no soft goodnights, no bedtime kisses. Only rules, fear, and rage that could explode over something as small as a wire hanger. Christina wrote of her childhood as a performance of terror. Crawford, obsessed with control and public image, demanded absolute obedience. When the cameras shut off, she transformed into a tyrant, scrubbing floors in evening gowns, punishing her children for minor mistakes, and turning motherhood into a stage for her frustrations. When Mommy Dearest was released in 1978, it shocked audiences not only with its brutality, but with the truth it revealed. Hollywood's most magnificent mother had been her child's greatest nightmare. Crawford denied everything. Of course, she died with her legacy intact in the public eye, but her children carried the truth. Charlie Chaplin, the great dictator at home to the world. Charlie Chaplin was a genius, the little tramp who made people laugh through their tears. But at home, the laughter stopped. Chaplin's perfectionism didn't end on set. He brought it home, demanding obedience, silence, and admiration from his children. His eldest son, Charles Jr., said that life in their mansion felt like living with a ruler, not a father. He controlled every detail, what they read, how they spoke, whom they saw. His temper, when challenged, could freeze a room. Some of his children adored him. Others feared him. All of them carried the weight of being raised by a legend too large to simply love them. In one interview, his son quietly said, "He belonged to the world, not to us." That sentence captures the tragedy of Chaplin's home, a place where the greatest comedian alive couldn't make his children smile. Bing Crosby, the heavy hand of the soft voice to the world. Bing Crosby was the voice of Christmas, warm, soothing, timeless. His songs brought comfort to millions during war and depression. But at home, his son spoke of a life filled with strict discipline and emotional coldness. His eldest son, Gary Crosby, revealed that behind that gentle smile was a man who enforced respect with belts and fists. In interviews, Gary said, "He was a tyrant with a heart of ice." Crosby demanded perfection, good grades, clean manners, and no tears. He told his sons that showing emotion was weakness. In the shadow of such cruelty, 2 of Bing's sons would later end their own lives. The man who brought joy to millions left heartbreak in his own home. Proof that fame cannot teach tenderness. Errol Flynn, the rogue who mocked his own blood a roll. Flynn lived every 1940s moviegoer's fantasy. A dashing adventurer, a laughing rebel. But behind that charisma was cruelty disguised as charm. His daughter Deirdre described him as distant and sarcastic. A man who found pleasure in belittling others, even his own children. He joked about their looks, their weight, their intelligence. If they cried, he laughed. His son Sean Flynn followed in his father's footsteps, becoming an actor and adventurer, but vanished in Cambodia while covering the Vietnam War. Errol never lived to see it, but the legacy of his emotional neglect lingered like a curse. Flynn's arrogance made him adored by millions, but it also made him unreachable as a father. He could sword fight on screen, but in real life, he ran from intimacy faster than anyone could chase him. Henry Fonda, a father's silence. Henry Fonda's face embodied the unwavering American hero, noble, calm, righteous. But those who knew him intimately, especially his children Jane and Peter, tell a different story, a man incapable of warmth. Jane Fonda once said, "My father could talk for hours about politics or art, but he never once asked how I felt." Growing up, she sought his approval, performing to reach his heart, but he never opened it. Their relationship only thawed near the end of his life, when age finally melted that armor. But for decades, his silence left Jane with wounds no applause could heal. Fonda's tragedy wasn't cruelty, it was absence, an emotional glacier that froze his children out of his world. Mildred Turner, the mother who built and broke a star before Lana. Turner became the sweater girl. She was a teenager from Idaho with a mother named Mildred, who saw fame as salvation. Mildred was a single mother scraping by on dreams and grit during the Great Depression. When Lana's beauty caught attention, her mother saw an escape. Not for Lana, but for both of them. She moved her daughter to Hollywood and began molding her into a product. At 16, Lana was being escorted to parties far too adult for her age. Her mother stood nearby, proud and blind to the danger. Years later, Lana would say she never had a real childhood, only a career. Her mother's ambition turned her into an object before she knew who she was. When scandals tore through her life, affairs, heartbreaks, and tragedy, she quietly said, "I never learned what love really looked like." Ryan O'Neal, the charmer who broke hearts in the 1970s, Ryan O'Neal was a golden boy, handsome, charismatic, loved by millions. But his family life was a battlefield. His daughter, Tatum O'Neal, won an Oscar at age 10 for Paper Moon, starring alongside her father. But when the camera shut off, Ryan treated her not as a daughter, but as a rival. He mocked her, competed with her fame, and made her feel unwanted and small. Tatum later described him as a man who didn't know how to love. They tried to reconcile in later years, but decades of pain stood between them. A reminder that charm and cruelty can live in the same smile. Sean Connery, the cold man behind the 007 mask to millions. Sean Connery was the perfect man. Confident, charming, indestructible. But to his son Jason, he was a wall that could not be climbed. Connery's fame consumed him. He demanded perfection and distance, believing discipline was the same as love. When Jason tried to follow in his father's footsteps, Sean harshly dismissed him, warning him that the world doesn't owe anyone success. Their relationship fractured for decades. Jason once said, "My father taught me strength, but not warmth." In his later years, Connery mellowed, but by then the space between father and son had become permanent. Two proud men, both too stubborn to say, "I miss you." Even heroes, it seems, can fail those who see them as gods. Tippi Hedren, the mother who directed Pain Tippi Hedren, was the embodiment of icy beauty. Hitchcock's muse, the golden-haired vision of the birds. But behind that perfect frame was a woman trying to live through her own broken career, and she passed that bitterness to her daughter, Melanie Griffith. Tippi wanted Melanie to succeed, but under her control. She decided her daughter would live the dream she lost. When Melanie rebelled, the tension turned toxic. At only 14, Melanie was already exposed to the wild, dangerous Hollywood scene. Her mother even allowed her to live with adult actors, including Don Johnson, a choice that later shocked the public. Though Tippi later claimed she only wanted to protect her daughter, the result was the opposite. Melanie grew up too fast, learning love through chaos, not care. Fame once again consumed the family bond, a repeating tragedy of mothers seeking redemption through their children. Rose Hovick, the monster behind Gypsy Before. Broadway turned her into the infamous Mama Rose. Rose Hovick was a real woman, and a terrifying one. The mother of vaudeville stars June Havoc and Gypsy Rose Lee. Rose lived through her daughters, driving them like soldiers through endless rehearsals and sleepless nights. She screamed, schemed, and manipulated, desperate to taste the success she never earned herself. Gypsy Rose Lee later wrote that her mother once pulled a gun on another performer for getting in her daughter's way. The daughters called her Mommy Dearest, long before Christina Crawford ever did. Rose's obsession destroyed her family. Both daughters escaped her, but neither healed completely. In the end, Broadway turned her madness into legend, and Mama Rose became the symbol of the stage mother from hell. Anthony Perkins, the ghost father to the public. Anthony Perkins will forever be Norman Bates, lonely, repressed, broken. But those who knew him knew he wasn't just playing a role, he was living one. Perkins' father, Osgood Perkins, was a Broadway actor who died when Anthony was just 5. But even in life, he was emotionally absent, a man who treated his son as a burden, not a joy. Anthony grew up surrounded by silence and distance, and that void shaped him into the quiet, anxious man Hollywood later exploited. When he became a father himself, he repeated the pattern: secretive, fearful, emotionally unreachable. His sons have said they barely knew him even while he was alive. Anthony Perkins's tragedy is the tragedy of inheritance, when neglect becomes legacy and the cycle continues unbroken. Loretta Young and Clark Gable, the secret that stole a childhood this story is one of Hollywood's darkest, not because of violence, but because of silence. In 1935, during the filming of The Call of the Wild, Loretta Young became pregnant by her co-star, Clark Gable. Both were married to other people. Such a scandal could destroy careers. The studio and Loretta's family conspired to hide the pregnancy. She disappeared for months, later adopted her own baby, and raised her daughter, Judy Lewis, as if she weren't her real child. Judy grew up sensing the lie, her father's dimpled chin, her mother's distance, the unspoken truth in every photograph. She didn't learn who her real parents were until she was an adult. Judy once said, "My whole life I was the secret that shouldn't have existed." That's what Hollywood did to family. It turned a little girl's birth into a scandal to be erased. Mickey Rooney, the father who vanished behind a smile. Mickey Rooney spent his life in front of cameras. A boy wonder, a national treasure, the eternal showman. But his children remember a man who never came home. Rooney had 9 children and 8 marriages. Between film sets, tours, and scandals, he had no time for any of them. His daughter Kelly once said, "My father loved the world, but he didn't love us." Behind his comic energy was a desperate need for attention that always came before family. He left behind fame, fortune, and emptiness. Yet another proof that success and love rarely share the same home. Marvin Gaye Sr. When faith turned to murder, Marvin Gaye's voice could heal a soul, but the father who gave him his name destroyed him. Marvin Gaye Sr. was a preacher. Strict, angry, obsessed with control. He ruled his home with fear and violence, mixing religion with rage. Marvin Jr. grew up terrified, constantly beaten and humiliated. His father despised his success, calling his music sinful. In 1984, during a heated argument, Marvin Gaye Sr. shot his son dead, one day before Marvin's 45th birthday. The man who preached God's love had murdered his own child. When reporters asked why, he said he was asking for it. That moment became one of the darkest in music history, the final, horrifying proof that some fathers never learned to love. Joe Jackson, turning children into business, to the world. Joe Jackson was the father of the Jackson 5, the man who discovered Michael. To his children, he was the reason they feared coming home. He trained his sons like soldiers, waking them in the night to rehearse until they collapsed. A missed note meant a beating. A wrong move brought insults. Michael once said his father stood over him with a belt while he sang. Joe told the press he was simply building discipline. But discipline without love becomes abuse. Even when his children became global icons, they still trembled when he called. Michael spent his adult life trying to forgive him. But his songs, his loneliness, his endless search for childhood spoke louder than any words. Joe Jackson's ambition created legends, but it destroyed the peace of every soul it touched. Peter Sellers, love as a weapon. Peter Sellers could make anyone laugh, except those he loved. His genius came with paranoia, insecurity, and violent mood swings. He saw relationships as performances, not partnerships. His daughter Victoria recalled how he'd turn on her in an instant, accusing her of betrayal, then apologizing in tears moments later. He craved adoration, and when he didn't get it, he punished those closest to him. In his final years, Sellers tried to make peace, but his body gave out before his mind could. His children have spent decades trying to separate the man from the myth, a task almost impossible when love and pain come from the same person. Peter Sellers shows us how brilliance without empathy can turn genius into cruelty. Lucille Ball. The queen of comedy and the tyranny of perfection, Lucille Ball built her empire on laughter. She made the world worship her. But behind studio doors, she ran her home like a set. Every line rehearsed, every gesture judged. Her daughter, Lucy Arnaz, described her as a perfectionist first, a mother second. Lucille wanted everything to be flawless. Her shows, her image, her family. Mistakes made her furious. Her children grew up walking on eggshells, afraid to disappoint the woman who made America laugh. Lucille didn't often hit or scream. She simply withdrew her affection, and that hurt more than anger ever could. It's the quiet kind of cruelty, the kind that comes from loving success more than softness. Her legacy as a comedian is eternal, but her children remember a woman who forgot to take off the mask, even at home. In the end, Hollywood's shine fades, but its scars remain. Fame built their names, but love was the price. And for many children of the stars, the spotlight never warmed, it only burned.